What if a color palette could turn into something this fluid, dramatic, and unexpected? Today, in this Creative Color Challenge video, I'm creating earrings inspired by the color card number 284 and the Man of War jellyfish. This design is all about movement, shimmer, and letting color lead the way. So let's get started. That gave me the inspiration on how to make the pair of earrings that we're going to do today. So this will be one of my options to be able to buy a kit in my Etsy shop. So I'll have all that information down below in the description if you're interested. So here is a close-up of the earring. So it hangs down from a jump ring, and then it's got the cute little wire tassel down in the middle of it, and it kind of, to me, looks similar to like a Man of War. That was my intent, at least. Alright, so let's get started with that. We'll move the card out of the way. So here's all the supplies, which are going to be listed for you down in the description, as well as in the previous screen as well. So I'm going to try to move all these off to the side a little bit, because right now all we need are our super duos, and we're going to need the 11-Os. So I'm going to move the rest of it off to the side, just so the camera doesn't have a fuss with trying to keep a hold of everything in focus. We're first going to pick up one of our 11-Os, a super duo, and do that combination 4 times. 1, 2, 3, and that's 4. So you have 4 11-Os and then 4 super duos on your needle and thread. Go ahead and bring that down close to the end, and we're going to go ahead and tie ourselves a knot. So do right over left, left over right. So I just go through the loop once, pull it down kind of close, go back through, and then go through the loop with the small portion one more time, but in the opposite direction than what you just did. Now the part that you have to be really careful with is making sure that your knot does not go around any of your beads. Other than that, you should be good, just good. So it should look something similar to that, so like a right angle weave type unit. Now we're going to proceed back through that first super duo, and then we're going to move from the inner hole of the super duo, should probably get that closer, the inner hole of the super duo to the outer hole. Then we're going to add our next layer. Our next layer is going to consist of an 11-O, a super duo, and an 11-O. And coming out of that first hole of that first super duo, we're going to go to the second hole, or the next super duo, in the open hole of that next one. Of course, my starter thread is kind of in the way there. And then that's what it should look like. I'm going to go ahead and just finish this out, and then I will let you catch up, and then I will start with the next round. So we're picking up an 11-O, a super duo, and an 11-O. And then when you put that last one in, we have to get ourselves set up to where we're going to be adding our next row. So here's the last 11-O, super duo, and 11-O. So I need to be going back through that first super duo one more time. I'm going to proceed through the first 11-O and proceed through the first super duo that we added on this last step. So on step number 2. And then that is the way that your earring should look so far. Now you might be able to tell, when you have it in your hands, you'll be able to tell this a little bit better than on the camera just now. But this is going to start cupping because there's not enough room and everything for it to sit flat like that. So if it starts to buckle a little bit, that's perfectly fine. That's what we want it to do. So go ahead and get that part done. Meet me back and I will show you the next couple of rounds. To get ready to start adding on your next amount of superduos and 11-Os, we need to move from this inner hole that we've already used in these superduos out to the outer hole. So go ahead and go through that. Now on this round, we're going to add 2 superduos and an 11-O. The 11-O is going to be in between the superduos. So pick up a superduo, 11-O, and a superduo. Going from that one hole, move on over to the next one. So notice how we're beading in the opposite direction. We were going counterclockwise in the last round. Now we're going clockwise. No, we're going counterclockwise now. Sorry. And we were doing clockwise in the last one. So you're going to be beading in the opposite direction. So pick up your superduo, your 11-O, and your superduo. And then do that 4 times total. This earring is actually extremely fast. So you can do a pair of these earrings pretty quick, in probably about an hour or so. Or sooner than that, maybe. So I'm coming through the first superduo that we started off this round with. I'm going to go ahead and proceed through the first one that we added, the first superduo, but I'm going to go ahead and go through until I get through that second one. So it's basically the end of that first section that we added on this row. And then now you can see that this is really starting to cup in and make a more of a cup shape rather than being flat. So we're coming through that second superduo of that first little portion that we added. Now we need to move to the outer edge again. And then this one, I believe, is adding, let's see, where are we at? I have done lost my place. Alright, so we're there. So we're down here already. Okay, so now we're just adding our superduos. So we're just picking up one superduo. We're coming out of the hole of one of those superduos, and then we're going to add another one in the next hole. So this one you're going to end up adding the last of your 8 superduos that are sitting there. So this one is pretty self-explanatory. So I'm going to go ahead and allow you to finish this little portion. Just make sure that when you get back around to the beginning that you're coming out of this first superduo that we just added, so that way we can turn back around and finish the last little step on our little Man of War, at least the outer portion of our Man of War. So I'll meet you back in a second. Alright, so we're coming out of that first superduo that we added on this last round. We're going to jump back down into that outer hole, so the lower hole of the superduo. And then this part, we're just going to add an 11-O in between each superduos. This will kind of make it come together and cinch together a little bit better. So it will resemble more of like the outer portion, or I guess it's more the head portion of the Man of War. So once you get your 8 of these put in, and you'll kind of notice that these are going to be pretty loose, because it does need to have a little extra room, or at least another round, in order of thread to go through before you'll actually see it tight, which we're going to put a second path of thread in it on this next step anyway. And that will help tighten it up and make it sit a little bit nicer. So after you get your 11-Os, these last little 8 11-Os put on here, then we're done with the 11-Os, and we'll be moving in with our crystals and our 15s. What are those? Alright, so we want to start this to where we're going, I've already gone through that first superduo, the first 11-O, and I'm coming out the second superduo. Now I want to start doing my crystals where the superduos that line up kind of like this as a V, the 11 O's. Goodness, what are these? These are 11 O's. So the 11 O's that line up in a V shape, I want to add my crystals down here to this super duo down here. So we're currently coming out of the one in between, basically. So with that being the case, I'm just going to go ahead and skip all the way over to the next one that's in line, which is going to be the one that is underneath the V shape of your 11 O's from up here. Now to add your crystals, get these 11 O's out of the way, we're going to pick up 2 15s, a crystal, and one more 15. So 2 15s, let's see if I can get it to focus. There it goes. 2 15s, a crystal, and one more 15. Go ahead and pull that down. And what we want to do is we want to make sure that those 2 15s are sitting pretty close up against the super duo there. That's going to help with the tension and how these crystals hang down on the edges and down around the edges. Now we want to go back through the crystal, skipping over that last 15 and just the crystal alone. So you don't want to go through any more 15s. If you accidentally go through that last one, then you'll notice, because all of a sudden your beads just start falling off. Then we're going to pick up 2 more 15s, and we're going to circle around through that same super duo that's sitting there. And when you pull that in, sometimes you'll have to do that. You have to just kind of give it a nice little tug. And once they sit in the way that you want it to sit, it should look something similar to that. So you have a nice little V shape with a crystal and another bead down at the bottom underneath. So then you would just proceed through the 11O, the super duo, the 11O, and then the next super duo, and then do the same thing. So I'll do it a little bit faster this time. 2 15s, a crystal, and a 15. Pull it down to your product, making sure the 15s are up against your super duos, and then go back through the crystal and only the crystal. I'd hold the crystal in your fingers there. See, mine kind of got a little loose, and see, there's a difference right there. See how you can see that the 15s are kind of moving around a little bit, so it's kind of loose. If that happens to you, try to hold on to the 15 in your fingers and then pull the rest of your beads down with your other fingers with your left hand, and then you pull on the working thread while keeping all the beads stationary in your left hand like that. So you're basically just tightening it up. And then pick up 2 more 15s and round through that same super duo. So we're going in the same direction with the thread, and then that way there is a little V shape with a crystal at the end. So go ahead and complete that portion of it, and then meet me back. I'll show you how to tie it off, and then we'll finish our earring. When you get done with adding all 4 of your crystals to your earring, it should look something similar to this. Now I've already made a couple of knots, but it's going to be in the same process here. I would suggest to make at least 2, maybe 3, just kind of depends on how tight you want your tension around the outer edge down here at the bottom. So I've already done 2 knots. I ended up going through one of the 11Os, and in between the 11Os and the super duo is where I'm going to make a knot. So I'm going to go underneath the bridge thread that's in between the 11O and the super duo, make a little circle or a loop, and then I'm going to go through that loop with my thread. Once, you can actually do it twice if you like. You just want to make sure that that knot goes in between the 11O and the super duo, just like that. Now I'm just going to go ahead and proceed through just the super duo alone. And then this is where I'm going to burn off. So you get your thread burner. Hopefully my battery's good. I haven't changed my battery in a while. Okay, good. It's fine. And then about an 1/8 to a 1/16 of an inch down at close to the product is where you burn off, and then make yourself a little knot. And of course this is kind of far away from my face, so my knot making abilities right now this far away from my face is sometimes kind of hard to do, so I'll fix it if I have to. And then you just do the same thing with the starter thread up here that I'm doing right now. And then there is your beaded portion of your Man of War earrings. So let's get the rest of our products out. We'll need the chain and then the jump ring and our ear wire, and then 2 sets of pliers. So this is the part that's probably going to be pretty easy for most. It may be a little difficult until you get it and you see what I'm talking about. So we're going to take this little chain tassel, and then you see how it has the loop up here. We're going to try to get that loop to get as far up in the center portion of our earring, or the beaded part of our earring, as we can. So that loop I'm just going to put in the center of the beadwork, and then I'm just going to try to push it up there as best I can with my fingers. And of course this is probably going to be the one and only one that's going to give me problems because it always seems to happen whenever you're recording, that you're going to end up with problems when you're recording. And every other time is going to be fine. Alright, let me see if you can see that. You can kind of see where the loop is sitting right there. Alright, so this is where you get your jump ring. Go ahead and open up the jump ring. Just twist it open with the 2 sets of pliers. And then I would suggest to try to hook on to the loop as best you can with your jump ring. Just like that. I'm actually surprised it actually didn't give me any problems. That's good. I knew it was going to give me problems. Alright, we're going to close. Oh wait, before we close up this, we're going to put our ear wire on. No reason why we can't put the ear wire on right away. So go ahead and put your ear wire on that came in the kit. And then now we can close up the jump ring. And then when you do that and you get your other one done, then you have a cute pair of earrings that resemble a Man of War. If you enjoyed seeing how this palette transformed into a finished piece, make sure you're watching the Community tab. On the 15th of each month, I'll post a Creative Color Challenge poll where you get to vote on the next color combination. The winning palette becomes the next set of designs, with the first release being a kit-style tutorial so you can create right along with me. Let the colors lead, and I'll see you in the next challenge.